Welcome to New York's #2 sports show. The Rangers defeat the San Jose Sharks 6-1 in a game that they absolutely needed to complete this Western road trip, which falls a little bit short of what I was hoping for, which was 4 points. They only get the 3, and that loss to the Ducks still stings. Again, an inexcusable loss. Like, if the Rangers, let's say, missed the playoffs by 1 point, that's certainly a game that you can go back to as to why they didn't get in. But to be fair to the Rangers, and look, I understand San Jose is, the worst team in the NHL. And the Rangers have lost to the worst team in the NHL when they were at the time, with the Chicago Blackhawks, the Nashville Predators. So they've done that before. But still, even though, Alexander Georgiev, who really right now might be definitely the worst starting. I'm pretty sure he's the Sharks starter these days. Alex Georgiev is, not that far from being out of the league at this rate with how bad he's been. But the Rangers win fairly easily. Certainly the final score would say that, but also give Jonathan Quick credit, who, he was in net. So I had thought that they would go with Igor, but I did say there was one game that, the Rangers would turn to Jonathan Quick. It would be this one. And I think from here on out, with 8 games left, the only other one that maybe is possible would be when the Rangers play the Philadelphia Flyers about a week and a half from now, where that's the front end of a back-to-back where the Islanders are the second game. So assuming the Islanders are still in the race, I could see maybe Quick for that one, or it could be Igor the rest of the way. Again, a lot of variables there, but there were points in times the Rangers were up 3-0 in the second period, and Jonathan Quick made some really big saves where, if a goal is scored by the Sharks, you never know. It could be like a Duck situation all over again, or just the idea the Rangers can't hold a lead. But he was there, only made, I believe, 21 saves, but the ones he did make were certainly of high quality. But this was definitely one of the Rangers' best overall, well-rounded games that we've seen. There have been many of them, right? When you think about, this being the last game of March, the March games, this is definitely one of the best ones they played. They outshot San Jose 33-22. They controlled this game as they think they would. A team that's desperate to make the playoffs against the worst team in the league, coming off of that Anaheim Ducks loss, like all the ingredients should have told you that they did. But again, with this Ranger team, you don't know what you're getting. But this one, they get the win. And again, one that at least in the third period, as soon as Rangers made it 4-0, then at that point, you felt pretty good about things. Artemi Panarin and Adam Fox each score twice, and Adam Fox's game is really on the rise. He has been playing really well lately. And Panarin too, right? Panarin, obviously Panarin's habits, and look, I've criticized Panarin and Fox within the stretch, and they've deserved it at times. But just overall, it's not as if it's like, wow, you're not getting any productivity for those guys. You are. Definitely with Fox lately. Maybe for a while you weren't with Adam Fox as far as the stats. But now you are. And, he looked really good out there. And he's been scoring a lot of goals lately, too. Adam Fox now up to 9 goals of the season. Remember how long we talking about Adam Fox, only had a couple of non-empty net goals? Well, now, they're starting to go in for him. And he was out for a while, too. So, it's good to see that the goal number for Adam Fox is where it is right now. But again, Artemi Panarin, he scores the first 2 goals of this game, got the Rangers on the board when they needed it. So, Artemi Panarin, he's up to 33 goals on the season. They're going to need those guys, right? Those are your 2 really, NJT Miller, your biggest offensive catalysts. And if the Rangers are going to make the playoffs, they're going to need them. The Rangers just continue to get that scoreboard help. These teams don't want to get in. For that second wild card spot in the Eastern Conference between the Rangers, Montreal Canadiens, Columbus Blue Jackets, New York Islanders, we'll throw Detroit Red Wings in there as well. Those are teams that have not been playing well. And so the way I see these last 8 games, I think the Rangers are at 77 points right now. I think that 88 points is gonna get you in. In other words, if the Rangers can go 5-2-1 in the last 8 games, I feel pretty confident with the Rangers tiebreaker situation being favorable, then I think that they would get in. Realistically, though, the Rangers have not really shown the ability that they would go 5-2-1 the rest of the way. So the more interesting thing is 5-3. 5-3, I think, can maybe still do it. Basically, what I'm trying to say is I think if the Rangers go at least 5-2-1, I believe that they will get in. Just below that is where it gets interesting. It really depends on what the other teams are going to do. And I think so. The Rangers really, at a bare minimum, got to go 5-3, which isn't overly difficult, but the schedule isn't that easy. But you have to see how it goes because some of the Rangers' opponents late in the season, they are good teams, but what will it mean for those teams? They're going to be clinched as far as playoff spots. I'm talking about like the Tampa Bay Lightnings of the world, the Florida Panthers, Carolina Hurricanes, where those are some of the best teams in the Eastern Conference without question. But you just wonder, like, the full scale motivation of those teams. It could be a lot, right? Like, they could be playing for a division. But in the case of, let's say, Carolina, like, they might just be locked into that number 2 spot in the Metropolitan Division. However, the Rangers are one of their biggest rivals in recent years. So I'm sure they'd love nothing more than to keep them out of the playoffs. So, yeah, we'll get more into that as time goes on. But what it keeps on appearing is that, like, it's going to go down to the wire. The Rangers have just been on the edge of that playoff line for a while now. Really, for the last couple of months, it's just been right there. It's never gotten to a point where you felt too good about it. It hadn't, once the Rangers kind of dug out of their shit in January, it's never felt like it was too far away either. It's just crazy how it's been. But again, that's continual conversation. As far as this game, again, said Georgiev versus Jonathan Quick. And again, Quick had not played in 3 weeks. This was actually his first game played since he signed the contract extension. In his last game, he was bad. That was the game against Columbus at home, where I believe he gave up 7 goals or something to that effect. So, someone who used to be a starter all the time, like, it's impressive at his older age that he can go in there and really, really look sharp. And so, whenever I doubt Jonathan Quick just a little bit, he comes to prove that, he is a gamer and he, is someone that you don't mind being in there in a big spot. Unfortunately for him, he lost his shutout with a little more than 2 minutes left. We'll talk about that. That's the one kind of damper on this one that he really deserved to get one and didn't. As far as the lineup goes, it was the same as the night before. And I feel like on defense, these are probably going to be the 6 defensemen you're going to see. And you know what? Honestly, for me, getting Urho Vakanainen back in the lineup, I like that. I think that he's not amazing by any means, but I think that he is very deserving of being in there. I feel more comfortable with him in there. For me, if it were my ideal 6 defenseman, I would probably prefer Zach Jones over Carson Soucy. Not even so much that I love Zach Jones. It's more, I just, with Soucy, he worries me. And the fact that he is Adam Fox's defensive partner, it's a little bit like it makes it better because Fox is the best defenseman the Rangers have. But that goes back to kind of a Lindgren Fox situation where do you really want Fox playing with someone of Carson Soucy's abilities? To be fair, though, the options are very limited, right? If we're being completely honest, it's not like the Rangers, sure, Keandre Miller, if he's on his game, but he's so inconsistent. And then, and then it does kind of make the other pairs not great and as far as balance and things like that. So, um, that's the defensive picture. And again, I just think that's what it's going to be for now. Calvin DeHaan's an afterthought as the 8th defenseman. He will not be in there unless there's 2 injuries. And Jones, I think he's kind of on the outs right now, but subject to change. Forwards, that's a different story, and that could change. The Matt Rempe's out week to week. Still haven't heard news on Adam Edstrom, which isn't great, but like that timeline it still hadn't hit yet, right? Like originally with Edstrom, it was kind of around like about mid-April, right? Where at that point, there's a couple of games left in the season. That was the original timeline, but I don't love that I haven't heard much on him because I think he would actually be a really nice addition to that 4th line, given where it's at right now. Right now, it's Carrick centering Berard and Obey Kubel. There's some things that are intriguing about that, but it's not great. It's a bit of an undersized forward line at the moment, whereas before, when you had Edstrom and Rempe, there was a shit ton of size. Um, so Parsons been the healthy scratch, which look, that would be my choice without even a question, based on who is healthy, who is not. Yeah, give me that. Right? Like, because I want to see what Berard can do as a young player. I mean, sure, you want to have him over Obey Kubel. I'm not going to make a big stink about that, but everything being equal, yeah, I actually think I might prefer Obey Kubel, even though he's, again, really nothing big. So, Rangers are able to get an early power play, and it would be Lucas Carlson at 217 who hooks Brendan Othman. And Brendan Othman looking better and better. I'm very pleased with the fact that he is getting a little bit of an opportunity here. Drawing penalties as a nice assist later in the game. That could be a big development if he can somehow become something at all. And his time on ice in this game, only 11:42, right? So I mean, look, he's not playing any special teams. He's not playing a crazy amount. He was a +3. Um, the only other players that can say they were +3 in this game are Vincent Trocheck, Adam Fox, and Keandre Miller. So, Othman, slowly but surely, he's getting there. And that's very, very important. If he can somehow be a positive piece to the top nine, that would be great for the future. But the Rangers don't score on the power play. So another game where the Ranger power play is unsuccessful. To be fair, that one looked decent. Like they were getting opportunities, but they didn't score. And then the second power play was actually cut short on a Mika Zibanejad penalty. So that is something that still needs work, and it is kind of a key piece and sort of unlocking that power play. That could just be the difference between making and missing the playoffs. If this power play continues, they miss. If they find it, they may make. So they don't score on that power play there, but they do get on the board first. At 12:04 of the first period, it's Artemi Panarin scoring his 32nd goal of the season from Schneider and Vakanainen. And it's a play where Trocheck takes it into the zone, wheels it back to Panarin. It's a one-time opportunity by Urho Vakanainen, and it works out very well for the Rangers. He breaks his stick, but it goes directly to Braden Schneider. Couldn't have worked out better. Schneider makes a nice east-west pass to Panarin. Panarin's all alone, takes his time, and scores past Georgiev. And look, not a great goal by Georgiev. We know that Panarin is one of the better snipers in the NHL. It's kind of an underrated part of his game. Panarin's known for great vision, for his moves, creativity. He can shoot the puck. Um, so it's a little bit of both there. But, overall, I like that the defensemen were getting involved offensively in this game. And so the Rangers take a 1-0 lead. And then very soon thereafter, Panarin scores again. So only less than 2 minutes later, at 13:58, Panarin, second of the night, 33rd of the season from Borgen and Trocheck. This is off of a faceoff win. Vincent Trocheck wins it clean back to Borgen. He finds Panarin, and then Panarin just goes to work and does a nice job of taking his shot from up top, and it had eyes. And I'm not sure if Georgiev ever saw it. And you had in front, I think Trocheck and Hoffman kind of causing a little bit of a disturbance, and it gives the Rangers a 2-0 lead. So 2 goals for Artemi Panarin in the first. That would be the score at the end of one. A much better first period for the Rangers than we've seen in the past. That's been an issue lately. And here they're able to outshoot the Sharks 14-5 in the first. So a big time improvement. We go to the second period. And in the second, at 4:48, Adam Fox scores his 8th goal of the season from Othman and Zibanejad. So what happens here is I think Carter gets in on the forecheck a little bit, and Fox is able to keep the puck in, and it goes to Mika Zibanejad, who kind of covers for a pinching Fox. And Brendan Othman, I believe, replaced Brodzinski on a line change. Zibanejad finds Brendan Othman, and Othman makes a beautiful pass to Adam Fox and a pretty easy goal at that point. All he had to do was elevate it. He does, and it gives the Rangers a 3-0 lead right there. Then later in the period, at 17:04, They call Braden Schneider for holding Colin Graff and Colin Graff for goal interference on Jonathan Quick. In my honest opinion, interesting they called it on both. I kind of felt as if maybe it should have only been on Braden Schneider. I thought the Rangers caught a break with the way that played out, but no one scores on that 4-on-4. Then at 19:45 of the second, not a great penalty by Will Cooley. He hooks Alex Wenberg. Um, and so the Rangers are shorthanded going to the third up 3-0. So that's a big moment right there. And like I said earlier, Jonathan Quick made some really big saves when it was 3-0 because that could have been a turning point and he was on his game. Third period rolls around. Rangers kill off that penalty and then the Rangers take a 4-0 lead. And it would be Johnny Brodzinski scoring his 10th goal of the season from Kreider and Valkonen. I believe that this might be Chris Kreider's first primary assist of the season. I think. I'm not, can't confirm that, but I think the other 4 were secondary. Like that, and if that is true or close to true, crazy that with now after this game, 8 games left. I know Kreider missed a little bit of time, not too much, like that he hadn't had a single primary assist. However, not a great goal by Georgiev. And Johnny Brodzinski, the great thing about him is he does love to shoot and has a good shot, right? Like, so that's his 10th goal, which again is not nothing considering, the games he's played. Johnny Brodzinski, there was a large stretch of time that I remember where I think it was him and Jimmy Vesey. I believe it was both of them that were a healthy scratch for a large chunk of time. And so for him to have 10 goals, in the amount of time that he's played is pretty good stuff. He's actually a former Shark as well. And it's just kind of him going down the left side and taking a wrist shot. And again, it's one that should have been stopped by Alexander Georgiev. But Carter makes a nice little play to Brodzinski, goes in with speed, and gives the Rangers a 4-0 lead. And so then at 4:42, Todd Dellandrea trips Nicholas Aube-Kubel. But then the power play for Rangers ends when Mika Zibanejad trips former Ranger Barclay Goodrow at 5:10. So what happened there is Zibanejad's stick kind of gets caught in Goodrow's skate. So a weird one. I understand why it was called, but you also maybe could have let that go. So it's 4-on-4, and on the 4-on-4, the Rangers score, and it's Adam Fox, his 2nd goal of the night, 9th goal of the season from JT Miller and Keandre Miller. And so right there, you have Keandre and Fox paired up on that 4-on-4. And Keandre Miller takes a shot towards the net. It goes wide, but JT Miller does a nice job of then getting the rebound off the boards, and it was sitting on the goal line, right on that line, and Adam Fox pokes it in. It was close, but it's no guarantee. If Fox doesn't touch it, it's no guarantee that it goes in. So he makes sure that it does, gives the Rangers a 5-0 lead. And then from there, with the Rangers well in control, obviously, at this point. At 16:27, Aube-Kubel is called for tripping, and the Rangers actually score shorthanded. At 16:53, it's Vincent Trocheck scoring his 21st goal of the season, assisted by JT Miller. So a couple assists for JT Miller on the night. Also a couple of assists for Urho Vakanainen as well, and Vincent Trocheck with a 2.9 goal and assist. So just a play where JT Miller was kind of able to take advantage of a situation where the Sharks or kind of turn it over. It becomes a 2-on-1. JT Miller to Vincent Trocheck. Easy goal. Nothing that Georgiev could do on that one. Makes it 6-0. And the Rangers actually get another short-handed chance. Mika Zibanejad with a breakaway on Georgiev and cannot score. Zibanejad used to be money on breakaways and shootouts. There wasn't many players better than Zibanejad. Not a great attempt. And then Kreider kind of needlessly was following up on the play. Didn't need to there. So the puck goes the other way. And it's a situation where Keandre Miller is unable to corral the puck. And therefore, because he was unable to corral it in the defensive zone, Cam Lund scores his first career NHL goal. It's a power play goal from Graff and Will Smith at 17:46. So Jonathan Quick's shutout goes away. I believe if he had got it, it would have maybe been his 4th on the season, which is pretty damn good, just considering the amount of games he's played and just his overall stats. You wouldn't think that. And he was close to it, but didn't get it. So that was kind of the one part that stung just a bit, but not a huge deal. He did very well nonetheless. But it is interesting that sort of 2 or 3 of the Rangers that I think fans there's a lot of contention and, about what is gonna happen with their futures. Zibanejad, I think, with his contract, he's gonna be here next year. I'd be surprised if he wasn't, but with Crowder and Miller, it's more of a question mark. But anyway, I digress because honestly, this is a game that was, by and large, really well played by the Rangers. They had to get the win, and they do win 6-1. 35, 32, and 7. The Rangers have played overall better hockey on the road. So now they head home to take on the Minnesota Wild, which will be their last Western Conference opponent this season. And Minnesota lately, they've been kind of mediocre. And the Rangers played them not too long ago in Minnesota, where the Rangers got an overtime win on that Braden Schneider winning goal. It's going to be probably a pretty big game for Minnesota. They're going to be, playing the Devils. Then they already actually 2 versus the Devils, 1 in Minnesota, then 1 in New Jersey. Then the Rangers, and then I believe the Islanders. I believe it's that trip for them in the tri-state area. And while I believe Minnesota will make the playoffs, that's the overwhelming thought. It's not incomplete. It's not complete. No certainty that they get in. So the point I'm trying to make there is, especially if Minnesota loses to the Devils, it could be a fairly desperate team, more than we would have thought, because Minnesota really looked like they were locked in. But now, St. Louis Blues have been red hot. And then, you're still getting some competitive play from Vancouver and Calgary. So those are the teams really trying to maybe, track down Minnesota. So will be interesting. I think it's a winnable game, but, the Rangers, again, they have not played very well at Madison Square Garden at all. And that could be a reason why they don't get in. Like the Rangers on the road, all in all, even though there's been a lot of points that were, squandered away, a lot of them on the road. But I just like their overall game better. The home games have just been really, really brutal in certain cases, but they got to lock in. This is going to be a very interesting, not because the teams are good, but because of how close it is. This final playoff spot, it's going to go down to the wire. And right now you got 4 to 5 teams vying for one spot, the Rangers being one of them, and they are right in it. Other teams have games in hand on them, but the Rangers are currently occupying a playoff spot. I don't want to make a big deal about that because, it's not based on points percentage. Like, again, the Rangers don't control their own destiny technically. So when I feel as if it's more legitimate, right? I mean, again, it's technically there, but a lot of work to be done. And, the Rangers now will have their longest rest stretch with 3 days off until the Minnesota game that they'll have the rest of the season. Really starting that next week is when the games are going to start to really pick up in force. And you're pretty much playing, every other day. You have a back-to-back. So this is a light week. It is. It's Wednesday home against Minnesota, and it's Saturday at the Devils. So 2 teams that the Devils are really at this point looking good to make it, and the Ottawa Senators as well, which is hence why there's only 1 spot up for grabs. But we'll see what happens. But the Rangers, after a really, really, really bad loss to the Anaheim Ducks, that, is a hard one to fathom, they are able to respond and bounce back in San Jose with a very convincing win over the Sharks. They win 6-1. They come home from this Western road trip, and they will take on Wednesday night, the Minnesota Wild.